When is questioning the president going too far? That's today, live on The View from a Pew with Tom Coates on KTIA, Iowa.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, good afternoon. It's a Tuesday, which means it's Tom Coates Day in Mac's World, and we appreciate you coming by and spending time with us. Will Rogers will join us in just a little bit as we talk some local and statewide politics. But first, I've got a heavy level of frustration that I thought I would share with Father Coates today, in hopes that maybe I can have my blood pressure reduced a little bit. There is continuing documentation that somehow gets out every few months or so that Barry Soetoro, otherwise known as Barack Obama, is in fact kind of a mysterious guy.
Yes.
I know when we get here, the liberals yell birther, and that's okay. You can yell whatever you want. You are the shiny object in the corner of my eye because I'm not paying attention to your hate speech anymore. Occidental College has released documentation that shows that Obama applied for and was awarded a fellowship scholarship under the Fulbright Foundation that was only reserved for foreign students.
That's true. That's true. I think that is, I believe that's a fact. I've heard that from enough sources. I think that one's a fact, Mac.
So he either is a liar at a really high level. I mean, come on, to get that's got to be a federal, isn't it?
Oh, you would think so.
To get a grant on a totally
if he were not
false pretenses?
Yes. You would think so.
I mean, let's say the guy was born in Hawaii, like he says, and that his father was Obama, and it wasn't, what was the guy's name that we all think is Martin Davis?
Oh, yes.
Marshall Davis.
The communist over there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's just say for a moment that that's all true, that he was born in Hawaii, he's an American citizen.
And he was mentored by a communist over in Hawaii, yeah.
But if we have the documentation which shows he applied for a scholarship under a foreign student, now I would imagine the, what do they call that? The time of being able to charge him with a crime is over.
Oh, yes. I'm sure that the statute of limitations is well expired on this, even if it ever was a criminal act. I don't know if it was, Mac, but I agree with you. I mean, there's going back to that film. Remember we saw that film?
Yeah.
Now, it's been a while since I saw it, so I don't remember all the details, but there was an email sent to me the other day written by a fellow named Dr. Jack Wheeler, and he was, I think I sent you a forward on this. He was the brilliant man who was the author behind Reagan's strategy to break the back of the Soviet Union.
Right, I remember that.
With the Star Wars race, the inner weakness, and dealing with the oil. In fact, I read an article the other day, Mac, that they artificially kept the oil low during some of those years, lower than it should have been, with manipulation and cooperation by the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia. And this helped break the economic back of the Soviet Union because they were reliant on so much of their oil exports for their money that this aided the whole mission of breaking the back of the Soviet Empire and releasing those countries that have now been released under the iron grip of the Soviet Empire. In fact, the article went on to say that they think we are using the reverse strategy now of high oil prices to get at the Chinese empire as they become more and more of a threat because they are so dependent on energy that they don't have, and they're using the oil imports and the high price of that to break their back. But neither here nor there. Anyway, he wrote a pretty stinging, and this guy is no bumpkin. I mean, he's got the credentials. And he says Barack Obama is an eloquently tailored empty suit. No resume, no accomplishments, no experience, no original ideas, no understanding of how the economy works, no understanding of how the world works, no fortitude. I will use a euphemism there.
There you go.
Nothing but abstract, empty rhetoric devoid of real substance. He has no real identity. He's a half-white, which he rejects. The rest of him is mostly Arab, which he hides, but is disclosed by his non-African Arabic surname, and his Arabic first and middle names are a way to triply proclaim his Arabic parentage to people in Kenya. Only a small part of him is black African. He goes on to say, he said he's not even a descendant of any enslaved Africans. In fact, his lineage actually is linked to the group. He hasn't a single ancestor who was a slave. Instead, his Arab ancestors were slave owners. Slave trading was the main Arab business in East Africa for centuries until the British ended it. And so let this sink in. Obama is not the descendant of slaves that he purports to perpetrate. He said
that in speeches.
Yeah, he's the descendant of slave owners, thus making him the perfect liberal messiah. I could go on, and maybe I will go on, but I think that's pretty interesting that when you get just even to that level, you see what a fraud the man is. Then you go on to some of the things that you were talking about, which we'll return to now. Go ahead, Mac. You were kind of on a roll, and you were expressing some frustration. Go ahead.
Well, for 16 years, until 2007, Obama had hired a Washington press public relations company. And over and over and over, they would get speech opportunities for him. They, trying to think of the right word, but they represented him in his writings. And in the jacket of the book and in the documentation that was sent out, it said clearly that Barack Obama, born in Kenya.
I saw that.
Now let me find.
I did see that.
I'm gonna find some an actual article that I've got here. The internet is just really wonderful, not because of what it can give me, but just because.
But I know I saw what you're alluding to. I saw that some time ago, and they tried to expunge that, didn't they?
Yeah, Obama's literary agent used "born in Kenya" by until 2007, and what this agency did is they represented Barack Obama and other people as literary agents. According to an archive, a website that caches websites on a regular basis, the Distel.com, DYSTEL.com website, the official website for Distel and Godrich, Obama's literary agents, was using the Barack Obama born in Kenya language until April 2007, just 2 months after then Senator Obama declared his campaign for the presidency. Now,
his lack of resume should have disqualified him, but you're going so far on to say that that there are specific issues that would legally disqualify him from being our president of the United States, much less in any authentic moral way. I mean, he has the shallowest resume of any man to ever even aspire to the job. I can't even remember a group of men or women aspiring to that high office that had such a shallow resume. Can you come up with anybody, at least in our lifetimes, that has had less qualifications to be the president of the United States?
Absolutely not. No. Now, and I don't say this with any arrogance, but I am represented by a literary agent. And I got to tell you, I've had these people on my team a little over a year, and I know that they represent me properly. I can't imagine being someone for 16 years, having an agent represent me, and this is the biography that was printed until April 3rd of 2007. Barack Obama is the junior Democrat senator from Illinois and was the dynamic keynote speaker of the 2004 Democratic National Convention. He was also the first of African-American president of the Harvard Law Review. He was born in Kenya to an American archaeologist and a Kenyan finance minister and was raised in Indonesia, Hawaii, and Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Isn't that something?
And yet, when we put this out there, we're called horrible names. We are called bigots. We are called racists. We are called haters. We are, they try to take our political credentials away from us.
Any legitimacy that you might have is trying to be removed automatically. In fact, Mac, it extends beyond just personal criticism. We can talk about his policies. We can talk about the failure of Obamacare and others of his policies. And as soon as you open your mouth to even criticize his policies, you're automatically branded a bigot because you don't like him because he's a black man.
Right.
He's only half black. Doesn't matter. You don't like him because you're a bigot. Well, it has nothing to do with it. No. You're automatically branded that way because you take issue with just his policies, which is the reason, Mac, that I'm convinced that much of the Republican opposition up until very recently has been muted because of the fear of his race. I think if he were Bill Clinton, or Hillary Clinton, or pick a name, you would not see the level of reluctance to engage as you have up until now on the part of the Republicans. That's my theory. I know that some people will disagree with that, but I think it's the race issue that has done much of the Republican opposition in up until now. And as well, look, Hillary Clinton was blindsided. She thought she was the entitled one back in 2008. You remember that?
Yes.
It was not even supposed to be a race. It's supposed to be more of a coronation. And all of a sudden, this usurper came in and supplanted her and nosed her out at the last minute in a very tight race. Matter of fact, it was very competitive. But I think it was, race trumping everything else at that point. She thought she had it trumped because she was a liberal woman. Well, that came in second place to being a liberal black man. And I just, and this guy is not like a normal liberal. This guy is steeped in, I was listening to Dr. Carson's. He was the one that spoke up at the United States Prayer Breakfast.
Right,
recently.
and he's black.
Yeah, and a brilliant surgeon and a man of his own right with a lot of credentials. And he spoke out against Barack Obama's Obamacare. Did you know that he recently after that he was knocked on his door, never been audited before, but got audited by the IRS. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, of course they did. That's what the Obama administration has done.
The thuggery of this bunch to use the IRS as a tool to beat down your enemies. He said, I've never had an issue with the IRS, never been audited in my life. And within a matter of weeks of him challenging Obama to his face, he's being audited. Now, he says the Alinsky model, which Hillary is steeped in as well. Alinsky model is where Obama is coming from, and that's trying to rule by power, to demonize the enemy, and to ultimately destroy your enemy, not negotiate with. That's why he's not negotiating now. He's employing the tactics of Alinsky to try to destroy his opponents.
Well, Joseph Howe on Facebook tells me I believe Obama's mother is an American citizen and the whole issue is nonsense. Frank comes back and then says, well, release the school records. We are told he is, quote, the smartest man in the room. Prove it. Or are we just supposed to take liberals' word for it? And let us not forget the smartest woman in the room, Hillary Rodham Clinton, one of the very elite groups of the Harvard grads who ever failed a DC bar exam. Oh, you'd never guess where she passed her bar. Arkansas. Anyway, I'm just so tired of I don't know what word to use anymore without being mean. I'm tired of stupid liberals who think and I guess that they're winning because they're getting to me because they must think I have stupid written on my forehead. But this is all going to come out. And Tom, if I'm dead and gone, when all this truth comes out, will you just do a little dance a little jig on my grave and say, Mac, we were right. All right, when we come back, a closer look at state politics with Will Rogers on KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
The point is, we are free now to do what we could never do before, and that is love and obey Christ and answer to Him, our Savior, rather than answer to someone else on this earth who sets Him up as your authority. You and I answer to Christ.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittiesusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
21 minutes after the hour on this 15th day of October in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy. And we're talking, well, we're not going to talk about that anymore. But I almost want Ryan to stop and start the recorder. Don't do it, Ryan. Because I want you to have this piece of audio on a little box somewhere on your desk so you can just push it and it'll hear my voice saying this: Barack Obama is not who he says he is. And that's it. So 20 years from now, when I'm dead and gone, and we finally get the scoop on this guy, whether he was born where he was or whether he went to college. The thing we were talking about, Will, before you got here, was that Occidental College has released documentation that he received a Fulbright scholarship on a foreign student, the fact that he said he was a foreign student. So either he's a liar or...
He's a liar. Either he's a liar or he's a liar.
You know, one of the things is, I'm going to just try to, for the sake of trying to argue because nobody else will on his behalf, you know, he obviously spent, how much percentage of his between 0 and 18 was his time spent living outside the United States of America? I don't know that answer. I know there was a significant period of his time. And so when he applied, perhaps he was applying from another country. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to say, well, possibly there might be something there. But, you know, the fact is, it doesn't go back to what he did then. It's what he's doing now to
Right.
the country. Yes, he might have been fraudulent. He might have done something. Like Tom, I heard you say, it isn't that he can, with the statute of limitations have run out. It's not like we're going to go back and, put the toothpaste back in the tube. But the fact of the matter is as the man's been president, he's done a lot more destructive things to the country than just that. So, anyway.
Amen. And that's as good a defense as you can make of him, Will. I appreciate that.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to maybe offer some additional insight as to why someone might have taken that exemption, whether it's him or somebody, or not exemption, but that benefit.
There we go. That's the that now Will has represented the left's defense of Barack Obama. We can move forward now.
Yes.
You're involved.
Sir Thomas More, right here.
You're involved in the highest level of statewide politics.
Well, I'm the county chairman for the Polk County Republicans.
All right.
I guess that 50 cents gets me a cup
close
of hot coffee.
to the top.
Well,
Help me and talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. This is not a rhetorical question. I don't know the answer to this. How can someone running for the president of the United States or the governor of Iowa or Polk County commissioner, how can they seal public documents like school transcripts? How and most importantly, why do we allow it? I mean, if I'm never going to run for office because I'm unelectable. But if I ever ran for office against, let's say you, and I had my documents sealed so you couldn't read them, what fool would vote for me?
yeah, I really don't get that myself. I mean, one of the things that I constantly hear from, average, ordinary citizens is that at a basic minimum, they want government to be transparent and they want disclosure.
And promised it and delivered the least disclosing, least transparent government in our history.
Absolutely. And so, here even in the state of Iowa, I mean, be truthful with people. I think generally most people want to find forgiveness for someone. You're always going to face a lot of heat if you got to come clean about something or you've done something and you've got to let the public know about it. But I point to many of our elected officials. They do something stupid. They get in trouble with the law or do something that just gets them in trouble. If they come clean about it, they let people know. Generally, they're going to find a lot of forgiveness.
Yeah, who's the guy who's running for state legislature? Biziano.
Tony.
He was a legislator before.
Yes.
Now he's running again.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere in the middle of that, he was in some trouble with the law. I think
I don't know all the facts, but I mean, that sounds pretty correct. I mean, one of the things that
well, he's an Italian, so he must obviously have mob connections.
The opinions of Tom Coates are not necessarily those of Webcast One, J. Michael McCoy, Ryan, or Will Rogers.
Absolutely correct.
Or the Hub Tower. Anyway, how is it? I mean, I need an answer, Will. How is it that people can run for office and hide things?
I'm not. In some cases, they may feel that there are some things that just aren't public, or that they're doing something to protect their family or a member of their family.
Well,
or
let's just say,
I'll give you an example.
College transcripts.
Let me give you a perfect example of something. There's a particular elected official. We'll say he's at Polk County. He's in the Polk County government.
Okay.
He is he went through a divorce at some point, and his divorce records are sealed from public view. And the question becomes is why are these divorce records sealed? Now, I'm not saying this was brought to my attention, and I haven't ever made any kind of political hay out of this or tried to go any further than that. But one of the questions is perhaps during that proceeding, information might have came out about either himself or his former spouse, or perhaps even a child in their family that might have a mental health condition or some kind of other issue that really may not necessarily be something good for the public appetite. And I'm using that as an example. I don't know. I'm trying to take into account that there are some things that maybe perhaps the public just doesn't need to know on one side. On the other side, college transcripts. Why wouldn't you put out your college transcripts?
Well, there could be some good reasons why you wouldn't put it out, quite frankly.
Well, let me put
those?
Well, now, one of the reasons that was alleged during the point of his initial election, less so in the next one, was that the college transcripts would have shown him exiting this country and gaps in his education that he did not want to fill in. Also, it could very well show, as I think you alleged to earlier, he's supposed to be the brightest guy to ever walk onto the stage. And, you know, I said before that he always wants to be the brightest guy in the room. That's why he got Joe Biden as his vice president. He wasn't any threat to him.
Right.
But the college transcripts would show, I think, a very average performance rather than this A+++ performance that his followers would expect. So there's a number. Those two are out there. There's other reasons that he would not want to show his college transcripts, and there must be a good reason, because he would have put the opponents to bed and shown them if there was nothing to hide. I would think that.
This goes back to Bill Clinton. Again, there were several periods in which people asked for records. Whitewater was a good example of those. There were legal files that were the people, the clients had signed off on it and said, absolutely, you can disclose any information that would be contained in that legal file. And whether it was Bill Clinton or his wife, those records were not released. And then finally were found, one day sitting in the White House just in plain view.
Right. And there was good reason that some of those weren't released as well. But anyway.
Well, I mean, I can remember back here in 2012 when the big deal was Romney wouldn't release his tax records. And the liberals went crazy about that. But we can keep 4 or 5 years of college transcripts?
I mean, again, you're the president of the United States of America. You hold the highest office.
He sealed these in 2007.
I understand that because he was running for president.
The Chicago machine.
This man was going to start. I mean, the fact that the book jacket that you brought up earlier, you know, they waited too long to get that one, out of public view as well. I mean, this, again, from the time that you say that he spoke at the Democratic National Convention in 2004, he was running for president then.
Right.
I in fact turned to my wife at the time and said, this man will probably run for president someday, if not get elected.
All right, what about this? We have a system in our country, and it's called a grand jury. And it is where very delicate information is given to a group of people who are sequestered.
Right.
And they are to decide whether the information they have been given is enough to try to prosecute.
Yes.
Why don't we have a political grand jury of unbiased people who take a look at Bill Clinton's records, Barack Obama's records, the tax things of Mitt Romney, whoever it is, and they come and say, you have to trust us that this has nothing to do with whether the man can be president or not.
I mean, for example, Mitt Romney not releasing his tax records. What would have been in there that would have disqualified him from being president?
Only if he cheated on his taxes.
Only if he cheated on his taxes. And other than that, I don't, knowing Mitt Romney, just that was probably going to be a high unlikely situation.
Right.
Not that.
Yeah, I mean, the man was percentage-wise as generous as any candidate we maybe ever had with his charitable givings.
Question.
I mean, the Democrats are notoriously miserly when it comes to their charitable givings. The Clintons, Joe Biden, Al Gore. You go on, and they're great with other people's money, but when it comes to their own, they keep a hold of it like it's in a death grip. So go ahead.
All right, we have athletes, professional athletes, who are being stripped of their jobs, their contracts, their livelihood, their decency, I'm thinking of the bike rider, Armstrong, because supposedly he took some drugs.
It wasn't supposedly. He admitted to it.
All right, so that he took some drugs that supposedly would have made him a better athlete and therefore shouldn't have competed with the other people. If we have a problem with people cheating to be a pro football player, why don't we have a problem with President Obama cheating in the White House? The Obamacare American Affordable Act is not a tax. And then their lawyers go before the Supreme Court and argue this is a tax.
Well, I mean, the question is did he cheat? Did he
lied.
cheat? He lied. Well, how do you know when a politician is lying?
Their mouth is moving.
Correct. I mean, that's... I don't, as it is said, we elect, we get the politicians we deserve. We are electing these people to office.
I agree. All right. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about some of the things that are going on in the States. You've got a big dinner coming up?
Sure do.
Yeah. When is that?
November 7th. Rick Perry. We'll talk all about it when we get back from the break.
Let's talk about that. And then you've got a big deal coming up.
Well, I don't have a big deal. I'm going to go to a deal.
Oh, well, you might as well take credit for it. I just gave you credit for it.
I got a big deal I'm going to get a big deal Sunday with Simon Estes in concert in Norwalk.
Okay.
I got a big deal that I can take some credit on that.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Can we talk about Tom Coates for Iowa Senate?
Yes, we should. Iowa Senate?
Iowa Senate, Tom Coates.
Not taking Harkin's seat, but for Iowa.
Ken Sorensen's vacated seat?
Absolutely. He lives there. Oh.
It is my district.
I think we need a sign made. Coates for Senate. We're coming back next on KTIA.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wonderscheid.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's got to be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
If you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? You can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going, though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
ones in the pew, not pulpit. Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
22 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, and then Michael Mudloff with True Blue. It's one of my favorite days to be on the radio with my friend Tom Coates, Will Rogers in the house, Ryan producing, and we talk about local politics. And maybe you think you can get good, unbiased local conversation on politics, but let me challenge you with one thing. And if you don't think this is important, and I don't need you to get your big toe in this pool because you're a good guy. But everybody else in this town that talks about politics is owned. I love Jan Michelson. He's a great talk show host, but he's owned by Clear Channel. We saw what happens when Clear Channel stepped in when Steve Deace all of a sudden had to leave that post in the afternoon. You think that was just purely coincidental? Anybody who talks politics is owned by the guy that writes the check for him. Now, I would think that Jan Michelson would have enough below the belt that if they told him to say something that he didn't believe in, he'd probably walk, because I think he's that kind of guy. But be careful. Be careful when you watch your local television news. Be careful when you listen to NPR. Be careful when you listen to commercial radio. It's hard being an independent. It's hard at the end of the month when all the bills come to me. And I have to go to my wife and say, you know that trip to Norway you want to take with your sister next year? I don't know. It may be tough. But in the end, I don't have anybody walking in my office telling me what I can and cannot say, telling Tom what he can and cannot say, and telling Will Rogers when he's our guest what he can and cannot say. Remember the value of the First Amendment. Freedom of speech controlled by no one or no dollar anywhere. All right. Let's talk about, you wanted to talk about state politics. Tom?
Yeah, I do.
You really would never consider running?
No.
I mean, this is the perfect time. It's your...
Well, you're close to it, Mac, but now if God reaches down and grabs me by the scruff of the neck and says, you're going to run for this office, I will step up and do it.
Okay, Will, you grab him and I'll be the voice of God.
Tom Coates, this is Moses.
I don't think even in a drunken stupor I'm going to mistake that for God. But I do want to talk about this, the Senate race that you alluded to, and obviously not with me as the candidate. I want to talk about the nuts and bolts, who's likely to run, what's involved, and when's it going to be decided.
Right. Well, at this point, and I'm sorry, I apologize, the date escapes me right now for when they'll have a special nominating convention. The Republican Party of Iowa calls that election, or the governor has set the date, and then the RPI will step forward. They've sent out notification to the district, or the Senate District Central Committee members will then convene a small convention for the purposes of electing a special nominee to be on the ballot. So far, the people that I know that have fully expressed interest are the following for the Republican Party. That is Julian Garrett. He's the current state representative that represents half that district. And again, the number eludes me because they've changed the district numbers around this past, they've redistricted here in the last few years. So the numbers escape me. But Julian is currently a state house elected official. And then also I understand Tamara Scott may have expressed some interest, as well as she's our national committee woman for the Republican Party, and then here in Iowa. And then also we have another gentleman who's ran for state house, Steve McCoy, may have expressed interest as well. The Democrat side,
Hold on. I thought Joni. Where am I confused?
No. You're getting it confused with the U.S. Senate race. He's talking about the state Senate race down in my area.
But I've heard there's another female in that mix somewhere besides Tamara. Have you not? Has either one of you heard something?
Tamara's the only female I've heard talk
That's
about.
So far the only one I've heard.
Okay. There is somebody else. I just don't know their name.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine. And then there is one Democrat that's named that I've heard so far. That's Mark Davitt. He's a former state representative. And I believe actually Julian was the candidate that beat him. That was 4 years ago now. That beat him for the Iowa House. So you have kind of a recycled candidate. There'd probably be some pluses there because Mark has still fairly well known in terms of name recognition.
His wife is Amy Duncan, the publisher of the Indianola Record-Herald, so there's another plus in his favor.
You know, he's a small businessman down in that area. He's a photographer, local photographer. So he takes a lot of kids' pictures when they're, younger and graduating high school and their families. He has some positive contact probably with those folks. So, like I said, Mark and both Julian, I think, are good candidates in this traditional sense that neither one of them are like Ken Sorensen in the sense they're both not going to be lightning rods. They're going to be low-key candidates that each party could probably get behind pretty easily if they both get the nomination. I think Tamara would be a good candidate, and Steve, I just don't know that he would make a good candidate for our party at this time.
Okay.
Well, before we get too far down the road,
that special election, by the way, is November to the 19th, I believe.
19th. Is that a Tuesday?
I can tell you that it is November 19th. You are correct. Ken Sorensen thing. Big trouble down the road, right?
I keep hearing from people that are very much in the know, that have seen all the documentation. This could, when someone first asked me about this, I said, well, it isn't like he's going to go to jail over this. I don't know now.
Really?
Honestly, he may face criminal charges at this point.
That doesn't wash well for the party or the state, does it?
No, but I think the party is pretty much disavowed him. And I think that, the comments we're hearing from other people is that, even on the national level, is that this really doesn't necessarily affect the long-term future of the caucuses. One bad apple, so to speak.
Right.
Well, the other bad thing, and we talked about this last week, we had Craig Robinson on. The other bad thing, we had two black guys. His was one, campaign jumping for money. The other one that I thought was a black eye was the Bob Vanderplaats issue, where it came out that he was asking for money for his endorsement. Now, he was at least smart enough to say, but I want it to promote my endorsement. So, okay, he probably can't buy nearly enough airtime when the final weeks that was already clogged up to do it legitimately. But I thought this, now, I bring him up not only because it was a blight, I thought, on our caucus image, also because I'm hearing that he is a potential spoiler in the U.S. Senate race that is now taking place.
I've heard that too.
I want to get your take on this, Will. We've already got a number of Republicans, only one Democrat, Bruce Braley, whose biggest concern right now is the lack of towel service in the congressional locker room. But I want to, we've got a number of Republicans that are in there. We need 35%. What happens if Bob Vanderplaats decides this fall to step in and make himself a candidate and further muddy in the waters in that U.S. Senate race?
Well, one of the things I keep going back to when I describe this situation is the last time that we had a situation where we had to go to convention was the 2002. At the time, it was the 5th Congressional District, where Steve King was eventually became our party nominee and is our current congressman. But I still remember a few, just a couple, 2010, we had Brad Zahn was our party nominee. Everybody thought that, first of all, that Jim Gibbons was the strongest candidate.
Right, I
Dave
remember.
Funk was in that.
Yeah.
Pat Batrosh was in that.
Yeah.
We had a number of people. And Brad had a campaign strategy that actually was successful in capturing the party nomination outright, not having to go to through the primary process, not having to go to special convention. I still think that will be the likely scenario. Believe it. I don't think we'll be in a special convention.
So you think somebody will get 35%?
I think at least somebody's going to get 35%. I think if actually Bob gets in the race, it actually even further helps some of those people get 35%.
All right, let's talk about who those people are. That special election coming up. Let's see what happens. It's Harkin seat. It's open. Who's going to get it? Who wants it? And who's going to best serve you? That's next, live here with Will Rogers on The View from a Pew.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling.
We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittysusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
10 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, then Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue. We've got a couple of events coming up. Tom, yours coming up in Norwalk with Simon Estes.
Yes, Simon Estes is coming to town. Going to do a Roots and Wings concert with all 5 area high schools. It's going to be quite an event at the Norwalk Auditorium at 2 o'clock on Sunday. I'm not prepared to give you but you can go online and reserve tickets. There will be hopefully some available at the door. Door is open about 1:30. But if you're at all interested, I didn't come prepared to give you the website, but it's attainable, and you can get tickets online for that.
Roots and Wings.
You can probably get it under Simon S.'s website, and Roots and Wings is the name of the concert.
Sponsored by Tree Makers and Hooters?
Well, it's a scholarship fund, and he's done it in 35 counties. He intends to do it in all 99 counties in the state of Iowa.
All right. And you have a big event coming up.
Yes, we do. We have an event on November the 7th. That's a Thursday evening, and we're going to have that at the Embassy Suites. And that's the Polk County Republican Party's fall Rob Kelly dinner. And we have special guest Governor Rick Perry of Texas. He's going to be our keynote speaker. Plus, we'll have a whole other bevy of candidates there as well, our elected officials. People can go to our website at www.polkgop.com. Again, that's polkgop.com. Or they can call our office at 515-280-6438. Again, that's 280-6438.
All right. That's a couple good events coming up. Governor Rick Perry, I'd like to see him myself. He came to our church one Sunday morning, and we have a policy that there are no cameras allowed. If a candidate wants to come worship with us, they're allowed, but there's no cameras, so they can't get press off of it. And when the proper people met his camera people at the door, Rick Perry said, "Hey, I'm okay with that, guys. Just stand down." And he was the only candidate during the Iowa caucuses that did that. Everybody else tried to argue. "Oh, we're doing a documentary. We're just it's not going to for the news." So I have a lot of respect for him. Yep. Okay,
let's go back to the subject we were talking about, Mac. You said that you didn't think that if a candidate, though, does not get 35% in this, it's a rare occasion when we have a U.S. Senate seat open here in the state of Iowa because we get a guy in there and then they just stay. Now we've got Senator Harkin stepping down. What happens if nobody gets that 35% and it goes to what?
We're going to have a statewide convention just to specifically select party nominee.
What does that look like?
Well, you'll have delegates from all 99 counties. The people that have been delegates to the state convention will be called back, and they will have, just for the purposes of selecting a nominee. Basically, they'll go through multiple ballots probably until they finally get a candidate with the 35% or more of the vote. Conceivably,
even somebody that never run for the office in the first place.
That's absolutely correct. We could nominate somebody that was not one of our candidates on the primary ballot.
All right, and there's a suspicion. I don't know how well grounded it is. There's a suspicion out here that Mr. A.J. Spiker and some of his Confederates are of a brand that might represent perhaps 20% of the Republican Party in the state of Iowa. And this Ron Paul brand, I don't know whatever you want to call it, you mentioned Liberty, one name, whatever that brand is, seems to have been very well organized and are representing the majority of us, even though the majority do not ascribe to much of what they believe. Now, the suspicion is that they might actually put their own guy or gal in there that perhaps has no qualifications other than they salute this Ron Paul flag. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's one of the not best kept secrets in the state is that our state party co-chairman, David Fisher, has considered running for Senate and people had anticipated that he'd have announced his candidacy already. That might be a part of the equation that we're discussing here, is that eventually he would get in late, perhaps peel a large vote away from other people and get some new voters. And that was, again, one of the successes that this Campaign for Liberty organization had in the 2012 caucus cycle, was that they got a lot of new people out on caucus night that people hadn't seen. They really didn't disclose a lot about who they were and what their ideology was, but they ended up running for Central Committee and or delegates to county conventions, and eventually got elected into leadership positions that then ended up selecting our state Central Committee and eventually our state party chairman.
Okay. All right. Is that your fear, Will, that we might very well see that scenario play out?
I don't believe so, actually. I think that everybody's a little wiser today than they were a couple years ago. I think there's a lot of people that are really actively engaged now in the process. I would encourage all your listeners, I'd encourage everybody. I mean, whether they're Campaign for Liberty, social conservatives, evangelicals, moderates, Second Amendment supporters, whatever your non-negotiable issues are, if you care about the process, I'd encourage you to go out on January the 21st on Tuesday night to your caucus and participate, get elected to the state central or to your county central committee, as well as become a delegate to your county convention.
It would appear that there's pushback from Mr. Spiker and some of his people, from the governor's office and some of the other established Republicans. This thing recently where the website took up with the searches of the cars, that seemed to be a little bit of a rhubarb. Some of the county groups like your own have actually openly voted and asked for the resignation and ouster of A.J. Spiker. Your thoughts on that?
Well, we had our September Central Committee meeting, which I actually was not there. I was on a trip to Israel. A resolution was moved and passed on at our Central Committee meeting to ask for A.J. Spiker and David Fisher to both resign due to a number of issues that people had with their leadership. Since then, the A.J. Spiker or the state party had put up on his website information about some traffic stops that police were conducting in Polk County, and that they were asking drivers not to cooperate beyond anything else than handing them their license, registration, and insurance cards only when asked, and also to videotape the interaction with the police. Now, I heard a lot of people talk about some privacy issues and things like that. One of the things that, you can get down into the rabbit's hole, but there is a motor vehicle exception to the Fourth Amendment. You have a lesser expectation of privacy while operating your motor vehicle out on a public road than you do living in your home. Okay. And that's, The Supreme Court has tested this over 200 years, really only in the last, since the advent of the car. But we've had traffic stops that have been conducted. We don't need to, for years, we don't need to make police out to be the enemy.
Right. Oh, I agree with you. Will, thanks for being here. We look forward to having you back again. Reich Placey's here tomorrow, and we'll see you again here live on The View from a Pew on KTIA Iowa, powered by webcast1live.com. Until I see you again, just one thing. Please, just one. Pray.